Hello to all the listeners. This is JP Costa from Cape Town, South Africa, and I'm 27 years old, and I'm really excited to share with all of you tonight how to conduct your first home meeting. Before I start, I'd just like to thank Louis and Leonie van Linde. They're also my Platinum Presidential Upline for obviously giving me the opportunity. And obviously, with regarding a home meeting or your first meetings, I think it's incredibly important that you get some advice from your upline with regards to how you contact and invite your prospects. They will also show you, perhaps help you with showing the plan for the very first time. And it's important for you just to get as many people as possible into the living room that evening. I've written down a few recommendations. There's actually 11 of them on how to do your first get-together. The first is, I think it's important to pick 2 or 3 definite nights for your first meeting. This is obviously also based on the schedule of your sponsor or your upline, and also obviously your own timetable. So that's really important. Make sure you've at least got 2 or 3 definite dates that you could possibly do the meeting. Secondly, I think it's important to invite twice as many people as you think will come, and this is not because of the people that you know or because of the quality of the people you know. It's just because life happens and things are busy, and perhaps not all the people you would like to be there might not be able to show up. And at least if you've got 2 or 3 different nights scheduled, at least it gives you another opportunity to get many of those leaders there for the second meeting. So we also have to realize it's not unusual that some invitees will have last minute conflicts or changes in their schedule. So that's also very important, just to make sure that you invite twice as many people as possible. I think the third point, which is really important, is to make the meeting room comfortable. I think it's very imperative that you leave the room the way it is normally, and not try and change anything to the layout of the room. I also think it's important to always pack out less chairs than what you expect, because when people arrive and they see there's lots of chairs packed out and no one else arrives, they might think there's something wrong. And that's obviously really a key factor to make sure that not to pack any chairs out. Just pack a few out, or actually just leave the room as it is. And when the people arrive, after there's been a bit of chit chat, then you could obviously bring the chairs depending on how many people there are. So keep the extra chairs out of sight and bring them only as you need them. The fourth thing is to place the marker board opposite from the room's entrance. This is really important, because if your marker board is or your presentation board is exactly where people sort of walk into the room, it could be a distraction to all the other people that have arrived on time. So make sure that you always put the board on the opposite side of the room, because obviously you don't want any late arrivals to disturb the meeting. That's really an important factor. The fifth point, which is really important, is do not have any children or pets in the meeting room. I think for so many of the leaders, it's just a massive distraction. If someone shows up and they have got kids or that they've brought with, make sure you've perhaps organized a nanny or a house sitter or babysitter that could perhaps look after all the kids, as mothers are not going to be able to, and fathers won't be able to concentrate properly while you're doing the presentation. And it's also obviously a massive distraction to all the other listeners and people that have attended on time for the very first time. The sixth point, which I've written down, is incredibly important. It's really that men should wear a suit with a shirt and tie, and I think it's particularly important that we also pay attention to shining your shoes. You could have the nicest suit in the world, but if your shoes are not shined, it really doesn't create much credibility, in the way you look. And I think, I've once heard a saying that says, you can't sell the dream, and that's really what network marketing is all about, is selling the dream. You can't sell the dream if you look like a nightmare. So it's important to always dress for success. I think women should always wear a dress, a skirt, and perhaps a blouse. And the reason for that is we've got to create the impression this is a business meeting, and proper dress is crucial. Even if it's your next door neighbors or your best friends coming across, it's important to be dressed for success. The seventh point is to obviously serve refreshments afterwards. I think it's really important to keep it very simple, and the most important thing about that is to keep it duplicatable. Make sure that people will be able to offer the same refreshments that you can at a later stage when they do a meeting as well. So keep it very simple: coffee, tea, perhaps some cool drinks, some water. But most importantly is never ever serve any alcoholic beverages. This is so important. The last thing you want is having someone at the meeting that has had too much to drink. So please, no alcohol at the meetings, not even afterwards. The eighth point is to greet people at the door in a very friendly way. This creates a very nice impression with people coming there for the very first time. The ninth point, which really does help the upline a tremendous amount, is really to perhaps give the sponsor indication of who the people are there. What work do they do, where they're from, as this allows your upline to create rapport with the people that are arriving there for the first time and really sort of build a connection with them. The 10th point is really to take your phone off the hook if you still do have a landline, but more importantly, obviously, just when you're starting their meeting, is to ask all the speakers to obviously for the speaker to ask all the people attending for the very first time to take their phone off the hook. This is something that's the 11th point, and this is really crucial. It is, if only one couple shows up at the meeting, act as if they were the only people you invited, and be excited for them. Don't be upset about the people that didn't show up. So completely forget about the no-shows. I think above all, it's important to keep things simple. The Manatech business works so well because it's very easily understood by people who are truly looking for something more in their life. So that's really important. Whoever shows up, doesn't matter how many people it is, you never know. It might only be one couple that shows up, and they could be your next big leader. So that's really important to always act excited, no matter how many people didn't show up, as that's just how the business sort of works. Even some of the biggest leaders in the business have had no shows. What's also really important is to definitely plan on having the meeting. A lot of times, a new prospect might feel that because a lot of these people have cancelled on him, he's not going to have the meeting. You got to realize that your upline has put out some valuable time to come and help you, and you got to make sure that you can get as many people there as possible. Make good use of your upline's time, and but under no circumstances should you ever cancel the meeting, because you should do your utmost to get as many people there as possible. And even if no one shows up, at least you might still learn a lot about the business, or your upline can still teach and train you a lot as well. But make sure you just get a few people there. And I think if you do enough promotion and speak to enough people and invite them properly, you're definitely going to have a lot of people that are going to show up. I think it's important to also be realistic. Things happen that are completely out of our control, and sometimes people really do have good excuses for missing the meetings. That's why you need to invite twice as many people as you expect. I also think it's important not to be disappointed, no matter what. If nobody shows up, it's not the end of the world. As I said earlier, many of the big leaders in the company have had no shows and people not show up, and you got to remember that you never claim a bad day, you claim a character building day. So if that is part of your story, I've no doubt that people are going to be cheering you on when they realize what you've been through to make a success of this business. I think it's also important to relax and have fun. I think sometimes we can be too serious. Remember, this is your first meeting, and as important as it is, it's not your last meeting, and it's not your last chance with people. It's just your first step. So do your part in making it as successful as you can. The next element of doing your home meeting is really how you conduct the meeting. I think it's very important. We're specifically talking about home meetings, and this relates exactly the same to opportunity meetings or open meetings, or for people to really come have a look at the opportunity for the very first time. It's so important to always begin on time. You can't punish the people that arrive on time. You got to start on time. So don't wait for latecomers. I think it's important to start the meeting on time. If it's 7:30, make sure you start at 7:30. Don't wait for anyone, as this will set a good example to people on how serious you are about the business. It's really also important, if someone is late or doesn't show up, don't mention that to the people that are there. The ones that came are the only ones that matter on that evening, and they're the only ones that are important in that moment. So make sure you don't even mention that to anyone. Don't set up chairs until people have arrived. Don't set up the board until the meeting starts. I think that's also really important. So always, when sort of people are arriving, make sure there's some casual conversation for 10 or 15 minutes, and then you obviously start your meeting on time. So it's important that if, most of our meetings always start at 7:30, so we always have our meetings at 7:30, so we can start on time. as each person arrives, tell them, obviously introduce your upline to them, tell them where they're from. Obviously, more importantly, always edify your upline. That's obviously going to help you so much more in growing your business, and that allows your upline to obviously edify you as well, and just build you up as well. And it's very important that when you're doing a home meeting and even an opportunity meeting, it's important to have a host, and this is obviously the person that's going to be introducing the speaker. And I think this is obviously really, really important to share why they got involved in the business. A lot of people come there for the very first time. They're very skeptical. They don't know why they're even there sometimes. It's important just to share that you felt the very same way in the first place when you first got involved. So, as an example, what you might be able to say is that, if my name's James, I could say, my wife and I are extremely excited about starting this fantastic opportunity. We're very, very excited because a good friend of us and also a business associate, Bill Jones, has offered to come and explain the opportunity to you. And he knows exactly what he's talking about. He's made a massive success in this industry and is touching so many people. And now let's welcome Bill Jones. And obviously everyone can clap. And I think it's obviously important for that host also just to conduct what the rules are going to be for the evening, in the sense, or the guidelines in the sense of what he's going to be talking about, what the evening's proceedings are going to be, if there's going to be a quick video, also to please turn off their telephones, and also to have no questions until after the meeting. And it's very important for the host of the meeting to take notes and record the meeting. I mean, that's the best way that they're going to learn. And they also need to be very alert and also obviously smile a lot and seem excited. This will obviously show the new people that they've invited that they're excited and committed to their new business. It's very important that you and your upline are the most interested people in the room. Don't interrupt the speaker, and just show the excitement in your eyes and obviously also your body language. If you have questions, or anyone in your group has questions, or any new prospects that have questions, obviously, as I said earlier, it's really, really important to remind people to ask questions afterwards, as you don't want a brand new person there really spoil it for everyone else that is really enjoying the presentation or that's there for the very first time. I think in the meeting format, there's really 3 primary objectives for showing the plan, and obviously the most important thing with showing the plan is to really uncover a need, a dream, a why. Why would someone do this? And that's the first point. The second point is to show how the marketing plan, the Manitech marketing plan, will find that need, dream, and why. I think it's so important to realize that people are not getting involved because they want to be involved in Manitech, or people are getting involved because of what this will offer them. It might offer them better health or better finances or more time or whatever it may be. So it's so important to really find a need that people have, and as we always say, the why. People get into the business because they see it as a way of filling that need, of having more time, more money, more security, less pressure, a business of their own, a better lifestyle. And, there could be so many more other reasons as well. People don't want to get into the business, but they want the results that the business can provide. I think that's so true for so many of us. We want the results that the business can provide us, and that is what we first see when we see the marketing plan. It's also really important that obviously, if you look at the format, I've mentioned a few of these points earlier, but I'd just like to go through them again. I think it's important to obviously just introduce the speaker. That shouldn't take longer than 2 minutes or so. We always start off with after we've introduced this, obviously after we've welcomed everyone, just to perhaps, even before you even introduce the speaker, what sometimes can work extremely well and in your favor is for the host to really just welcome everyone and just say why they got involved, and then obviously put a video on that just talks a little bit about our products, or a little bit about the company, or a little bit about the mission that we have. And then you might even just bring the speaker on after that. And it's important then for the speaker, and I realize I'm speaking to many people who are conducting their own home meetings already, but it's important to obviously set your prospects at ease when you start. Maybe we just talk a little bit about current affairs and why you got involved and how long you've been doing it, and a little bit about yourself. And I always say to my group, it's so important to stress how skeptical you were when you first saw this, and how exciting it is and how it's changed your life. And you can always also mention that that you thought you might not have the time, but how you realize that if you just set your goals better, and if you just add a to-do list, and if you just organize yourself more, you could actually find the time. And those are all just a few things that the speakers can really share, just to sort of build credibility with the prospects are there for the very first time, and obviously setting them at ease as well. I think it's very important for us to obviously always just compare how our compensation plan, what can normally be anything from a 4 to 10 year plan, how that is so much better than people being in the rat race for 45 years. And so it's important to stress that. And obviously also that how few people really, when they get to the age of 65, if they've been working for that 40-year period from the age of 25 to 65, few people can actually really retire. So just talk a little bit about things like that. And I think for me, it's always important just to say that, 96% of people that lie awake at night are worrying about two things: health and finances. So you can bring all that in. And I think it's important to obviously always be talking about, why people get involved in it, and sort of, about the goals and the importance of the aspirations that people may have. And then, of course, you'll do the presentation and of the marketing plan. A lot of people prefer just talk a little bit about the products first and then go into the marketing plan. What I'd ideally like to do is I'd like to just start off with speaking a little bit about Manatech and just building credibility around the company, just mentioning that it's an American public company. They've been listed since 1999. We traded on the NASDAQ. To also mention we've been in business for 20 years, so we've got a massive track record. We're now doing business in 24 different countries. And obviously the company's headquartered in Dallas, Texas. I then obviously talk a little bit about the 3 pointers which I believe are the most important, which is firstly that we're in the health and wellness industry, which is the next $1 trillion industry, and they really are predicting that 4 companies will control 20 companies will control about 80% of this market. And obviously we are hoping to be one of the top 4 companies. And really do that, you need 4 things. You need a patented product. You need something that's disruptive technology. You also need a guarantee on your product, and most importantly, you also need clinical trials on your product. So you can talk a little bit about that, and you can mention that we have over 90 patents, that we've got a satisfaction guarantee, that we've got numerous clinical trials, and so forth. And I think the second part that you also want to talk to people about when you're doing the marketing plan is to share with people about our mission. That we're a social entrepreneurship company, and we've taken on this global cause of linking 5 million consumers to 5 million malnourished children, and what a difference that can make. And many people really get involved in our company because of that massive mission we have and the massive heart that Manatech has. And thirdly, you can obviously talk a little bit about the company, and about the business, and specifically about the business, on that it's part-time. You got the opportunity to start earning residual income. You can do it. It's a home-based business that's completely turnkey. You can build an international business working from home part-time. It's no risk. It's very low overheads. All those sorts of things can build credibility around the company. And then, of course, you can go into the marketing plan. And I think, I'm not going to go through the marketing plan, as obviously I'm speaking to people in many, many different countries. But I think for me, the biggest concern that people normally have when they're seeing a presentation for the first time is the first thing is, why have I never heard about it? And then you can obviously cover that, that in the traditional distribution model, that normally only 20% of the money goes into production, 80% of the money would go into advertising, marketing, shelf space, agents, brokers, middlemen, all those sorts of things. And what Manatech does is we put 56% of the turnover goes into research and development, and also into running the company. And the other 44% that we would spend in advertising and marketing, we now use the most powerful form of advertising and marketing, which is word of mouth marketing. And that's, of course, why people have never heard about it, because no one's ever told them about it. And, many of us have seen the statistics that, 78% of people trust recommendations from friends and family versus only 14% from traditional advertising and marketing. So we are really on the future of how business is going to be done. Something that's just, after explaining the whole marketing plan, you might do a benefit and risk analysis and show people what all the benefits are of getting involved in Manatech, and obviously what the risks are. And of course, there are no risks. Some of the benefits might be the extra time they can have, or the starting their own business, or the extra stream of income, or perhaps the health and wellness side of it. There's so many, many reasons. One of the most important things that you can do at a home meeting or opportunity meeting is always offer people a first night information pack on either on the products or on the business. This is so important because no one should ever leave a meeting without any information. This also allows you to see which people are actually interested. And I think The important thing is if you're giving people information, say to them, if I gave you, Jim, if I gave you the CD, would you listen to it? And if you're getting a good response from people, it's always very important to give them a CD or DVD, because a lot of people might only get excited after listening to the CD or the DVD. So just in closing, I think it's so important, the follow through. And the nice thing about this is if you're giving someone the information, the CD or the DVD or the brochure or whatever it may be, it allows you the opportunity to obviously book your follow-up and your follow-through with those people as you want to get your information back. And I've seen this work wonders in my organization, is that straight away after you've done the plan, it might be a one-on-one meeting, it might be a home meeting, it might be an opportunity meeting. I always give someone information, and I always already schedule the follow-up meeting with those people to get my information back and to answer any questions they may have. This also obviously sets them at ease about everything. Closing the meeting, I think it's just important to obviously just mention to everyone that if there's any questions that they are mostly welcome to come ask the host or the speaker for the evening. And generally those that are interested will start asking you questions. And I think the thing is, it's always a good thing if they've got questions, as that shows that they're interested. Even if they ask you something like, isn't it a pyramid scheme, or why have I never heard of Manatech, or why is it like this, or why is it like that? Those are all questions indicating that they are really interested in what you do. I think it's also important to really afterwards just to build a relationship with people, and you don't want to pressure your prospects, but perhaps many of prospects are ready to really get their account number or order their product. So also give people the option to order their product straight away afterwards if they'd like to get their account number, so long that will also be available, and that they're welcome to go and see your wife or your husband. They will have the application forms or the computer or the iPad with them to help the prospects or the people seeing it for the first time get involved. You also want to leave people with a sense of urgency, as you want to tell them, this is going to happen with or without you. Maybe you don't want to say that in those words, but you really want people to feel that, and that now is the time to act, and the quicker that they can get their account number, the better. The nice thing with us in South Africa, building a pipeline or building depth, as many people call it as well, is that, but as people are at a presentation, they need to know that as you see more people, they're going to come in, and the quicker they get their account number, the better for them, as they'll obviously get a lot more volume in their business. Of course, talking on this topic, I think it's just very important to just first chat with your active working upline and just hear what their thoughts are. As I realize I'm speaking to 24 different countries, and maybe your upline doesn't teach what I teach. Of course, the most important thing is always listen to what your upline suggests. I think, the most important thing, in closing, have fun, make sure that these meetings are exciting, make sure that people can see you excited, make sure it's organized, make sure your markers are working, make sure that all your things are set up, that your DVD is working, and so forth. And I've no doubt that you will achieve massive success. I mean, this company's been such a blessing in my life. It's changed my life in so many ways. I've got all the time I want. I've got all the money I need. I'm just so blessed. And obviously, I've made the most amazing friends, and I've got the most amazing team I'm working with. So I hope this has been of help, and I look forward to see you all on the beaches of the world. Thank you very, very much for listening, and I hope to meet all of you very, very soon. Thank you very much. Bye-bye.
Welcome to the Platinum Teaching System, put together by the Platinum Presidentials Louis and Leonie van der Linde from South Africa. We would like to thank them for their mentorship and the great system adding value and structure to a successful network marketing business. We are Francois and Mabel van Skalkwyk, Silver Presidentials from Paarl in South Africa. Now, we realize the value of house meetings when it comes to time management and doing something that is 100% duplicatable. And I think the success of this business is doing something and everything that is fully duplicatable. I believe that a proper house meeting will truly add value to your business, as it's easily duplicated. If you can coach your leaders to conduct a proper, well-planned house meeting, your business will grow rapidly. The aim of the house meeting is to invite people you know. They will feel comfortable coming to your house on the first visit. They might be more open to ask questions and will leave your house well informed. Remember, open-minded people makes informed decisions. If the open business meeting or bi-weekly is their first introduction, they might leave with unanswered questions and might make a decision based on that instead of getting all the questions answered. Secondly, they will feel more at ease in an informal environment, making them more open to ask those questions that are important to them when given the opportunity. They might be the ones asking for a house meeting at their house, and that is exactly what we want. We want to move to the next house as soon as possible, duplicating the system. You will then assist this new associate with the 4 basics, starting them with a names list, and then step 2, contact and invite the people to their house meeting, and thirdly, to assist them in showing the plan at their first house meeting. Always keep in mind that everything you do in this business should be 100% duplicatable. Some of you might now be thinking back to that first presentation you attended. Was it done 100% duplicatable? If yes, that is what got you started immediately thinking, well, if Francois and Mabel can do this, I can too. I'm now going to ask Mabel to give us some pointers on how to set up the room for a proper duplicatable house meeting.
Well done for listening to this training CD, and also congratulations for being on the TOMS, that's the Tools of the Month. That is the proven system that will put your business on a fast track to success. I'm going to give you some pointers that will assist you in putting together a proper house meeting, making sure that it's 100% duplicatable to the new associate as well. Firstly, set a time and date for the house meeting before inviting anyone. You and your team must have a date set aside in your diary. Number 2, start exactly on time, as you don't want to penalize the people who arrived on time. Number 3, make sure that the TV for playing a DVD and the whiteboard for showing the plan is placed away from the entrance. This will avoid distraction when people enters the room. Number 4, make sure that there is no music, TV or any equipment playing that might distract people during the presentation. We want them to fully focus on the speaker. We don't want them to miss out on anything. Number 5, make sure that the host can accommodate small children in a separate room. That is, if it's necessary. Number 6, ask the host to keep any pets away from the guests, including that well-spoken parrot that will also learn the plan in future, as they can copy what you say easily. Number 7, to keep the house meeting duplicatable, ask the guests not to prepare any snacks, tea or coffee. So you can just put out some cold water with glasses on the table. By doing this, the new person will be in an environment where you can fully focus on the speaker and will see that it's very duplicatable. There's also a specific protocol we like to follow with the house meeting, and Francois will quickly share that with us.
Thank you, Mabel. Nothing wrong with a nice snack, but remember, we must keep this 100% duplicatable. So this is a training CD, and I'm an ex-accountant, so you will understand if I give you this information point by point. So let's look at the protocol for a proper house meeting. Number 1, never cancel a house meeting. If you can't make it due to unforeseen reasons, arrange for a replacement. If nobody pitches, well, it might be a good time to do some training with your new associates. Number 2, always start on time. We should be referred to as punctual and accountable business builders. It is common for people to be late. We know they struggle with traffic and other circumstances, and we should not punish those who were on time and reward those who are late. We are network marketing professionals and should act as professionals. Number 3, finish your whole presentation within 1 hour. Be careful not to talk people into and out of the business at the same time. Stay away from an information overload. It's always better to send more information via a CD, DVD, or an email afterwards. Number 4, if you are the host, make sure you properly introduce the speaker and remember to edify him. This is a very powerful tool. As the host, it is your responsibility to open and close the meeting. Now, the introduction and edification of the speaker should be short and to the point. It is not necessary to brief the guests on what the speaker is going to share. Just show your appreciation and be excited about this amazing technology and this vehicle to financial freedom that the presenter will share with the team. The closing, exactly the same, should be short and to the point, and please don't repeat or correct anything that the speaker shared. The guests will only remember the excitement, your belief, and also the success stories. Number 5, the speaker will thank and edify the host in return. This will develop trust and belief. Number 6, very important one, never ever interrupt the speaker. We want the guests to focus on him only. Always laugh at his jokes, even if you know them by word, still laugh. Mabel is so used to my jokes, but still laughs when I break the silence with a joke or make a comment. Number 7, never apologize for the people that are late or cancelled. Your focus should be on the people that is there. They are the ones showing their commitment, and that makes them your number 1 priority. Number 8, always over-invite. Even if everybody pitches, you will have a standing room only. And then number 9, have an attendance sheet ready. Ask the guests to complete it with a contact number and email address. This will help you with the follow-ups and also to identify the ones that did not pitch. And remember to do the follow-up within 24 to 48 hours. And if some of the guests ask for more information, make sure that you send it to them before you do the follow-up. And now I'm going to ask Mabel to share with you on the associates attending the house meeting.
Yes, it's always a good idea to get 2 associates in the same line to attend your house meeting, and also to take at least 1 guest each. They are there to learn and to get the next house meeting set in their business. I also want to give you now pointers for the associate that's attending the house meeting. You should be respectful, on time, and very attentive during the presentation. It is a good idea to make notes during the presentation. You will also learn, and you will set the example to the guests. And you can also laugh at the jokes, even if it's the 20th time that you hear the same joke. Contribute only when you're asked to. Never interrupt the speaker. Remember, a distraction will take the guest's focus off the speaker, and he might miss out on that one important point that will have a positive effect on his decision. Switch your phone to silent and also ask your guests to do the same. Stay away from reading text messages from people you invited informing you about being late or they cancelled. You can read and reply after the meeting. Don't show your disappointment in the guests who were invited but that didn't make it, or the ones that cancelled or never pitched. Never mention or discuss it with your other guests. Show your excitement and focus on the people at the meeting. Nothing else matters at this stage. It is the presenter, the guest, and you that matters now. Be willing to share a successful story when the speaker asks you to. Remember that facts tell, but the stories sell. Get your guests closer to the speaker, even if it means that you'll be standing at the back of the room. We want the guests to listen carefully, so the closer they get to the speaker, the better. You must also be bold enough to take the children to the next room if they are disturbing the guest or the presenter. Remember your people skills. People don't want, or parents don't want strangers to be rude to their children. So do it with a huge smile and showing them that you just want them to listen without interruptions. Once again, we must realize that we are in a profession and we should treat it as a R1 million a month business. We are changing lives, sharing this amazing technology and also introducing them to a vehicle to financial freedom. And it's such a privilege to be involved in a business with this unlimited potential. And with this, I'm going to ask Francois to continue. But before that, I just want to thank him for his contribution in our business. He's really a great asset to our business, and he's just loving this business and love to take people to the next level. And I want to thank him and tell him that I love him for all that he's doing for the people and for his family. Thank you.
Thank you, Mabel, and what a privilege to have a dynamic wife right next to me, assisting me in building this business, and also caring for the team and assisting people with personal development, taking them to the next leadership level. Now, in closing, I would like to encourage you to start your house meetings as soon as possible. And the next step, of course, will be to host a meeting at your new business builder's house to educate and teach them on how to host a proper duplicatable house meeting. And I cannot stress this enough. It must be duplicatable. The focus should be on moving to the next house as soon as possible to avoid the house meeting turning into a social gathering. It should be treated as a business meeting, and the sooner you get going, the better. Always have some information and products on hand, as some people would like to see the containers and booklets and will probably ask for some more information afterwards, so have something on hand for them as well. Remember the attendance list with the names, the cell phone numbers, and also the email addresses for the follow-ups. And if they ask for more information, you will of course have the contact details on hand to send them more information. And we trust that this information will add value to your business. And once again, thank you, Louis and Leonie Platinums from South Africa, for this opportunity to share with the serious business builders making a difference in people's lives. Let's go Platinum.
Yeah, one of the most important aspects of building our Manatech business is knowing about the product and how to present the business plan. So Manatech offers many resources in this regard with education program we call the Tools of the Month, and this is to enable us to have a turnkey operation. It's not about us, but how many people we can lead to our training program. But tonight it's about how we present the belly-to-belly stuff. One is the one-on-one meeting, two is the home meeting, three is open and bi-weekly meeting, and fourth is your online presentation. But tonight it's my pleasure to share the home meeting aspects and some of it to get you aligned to have a great, good to great home meeting. So the great part of home meetings is to present, to get people there who you know and who you don't know. Number two, it's very duplicatable because you can present it to one but large groups in the comfort of your own home. The idea is just to encourage people to keep it simple, the presentation very simple and also duplicatable and brief. You know, I mean, people have spent all day working. They don't want you to song and dance for 2 hours. I mean, you go in, they get information, get them out. Otherwise, they won't be focusing, or the concentration span would be low at that if it's generally done at night. And for the person who's doing the presentation is to kind of, connect with people whilst doing the presentation, kind of work the room, okay? So the four basics, and this is the third aspect of the four basics, is show the plan. The enroller, generally, if you're brand new and you're the person presenting, it's good to be edified. You get the person who invited you to edify so people can look to you with respect. They can take notice of what is being said. You do that with respect. So people can know that when you're presenting, that you have something to say. You've built a big business, and yes, you have full rights to present there. The second thing is we use the contact inviting principle, where we say that if you want 10 people in the room, you invite 20. Okay? If you want 20 in the room, you invite 40. Why? Because people have conflicts and it happens at the last, human race, the way it is, things happen. Okay, if you want a nice full room or decently full room, the idea is just to call double the amount of people that you generally would want there. You've got to choose an appropriate room to do this. It's usually people have living rooms. You don't set up too many chairs. Know where the chairs are to add to it as the room fills, so you don't have a lot of distraction. When the person presenting should have his marker board and his whiteboard markers opposite the entrance of the room. And the reason for that is that when we inevitably have people arriving later, when they do, not to disrupt and just have disrespect for the people who have arrived early, but let them come in sort of unobtrusively, add their numbers to the room, so that the general populace sitting in the chairs can keep the main thing and not be distracted, because it might just be when somebody opens the door, everybody looks. It's generally how the human beings, the curiosity killed the cat syndrome. But the big thing is for people to focus on what is being said, so they can take that information and make it their own, so they can make a decision at the end of the day. So very importantly, children, pets, especially babies, we love them, all of them, but they should not be present in or at a meeting like that. I know that it's very difficult because you want husband and wife there. Showing the plan, present it to just the husband, you're going to have a very low hit rate. But if you have husband and wife there, generally, because the entity of marriage, in my opinion, is very strong, to get them together, to make a decision, is them to enable them to bring their kids. But the spouse of the person, which would probably be the man presenting the opportunity, the spouse will then look after the kids in a separate room to allow the couples in question with kids who have visited there to be in a separate room. So the noise and the rest of it would lessen the actual meeting room, and it'll give people to focus on what I would call to keep the main thing. For me, that's very important. I know that we all love our pets and we all love our kids and the babies especially, but the distraction that happens inside a meeting room, I don't think it is called for. So that is why we build that in, because generally people also don't have money for babysitters. We start our businesses to make money, not to spend it. So that is what we build that in, so everybody's invited. Okay, so it takes care of all of that. The person presenting, it is suggested that it's business attire. Well, it's suggested why? Because, it's a professional appearance. It makes for very good first impression. There's also shows respect, and most importantly, it sets a tone of importance. I mean, you're going to sit there and you're going to arrive at this person's house and like all slapdash slippers and shorts. I mean, it's really a horror show. So the suggestion is that people have professionally dressed, and we call a shirt and a tie, men slacks, or suit pants, clean shoes, I suppose, and neatly, presented. Women, obviously, a dress or a skirt or a blouse, and nothing too revealing. I think there's a CD on that, a dress code CD that'll actually give you the protocol on that, of how to get dressed, because you want to keep, again, the main thing. We don't want any loose bits hanging or presented, because people will be distracted, both men and women, and we want to showcase our business, not anything else. I think very importantly, I've seen most certainly when beverages are served, I think to keep it very, very simple, especially now that we have Manna Tea, to present that. And also a Glyco Cafe that's soon coming. So we use our own products. It's also a talking point, but it's very important not to start offering that before the meeting. I've seen it creates disruption, because the last bits or the last numbers of people arriving also all want coffee and tea. And instead of starting 7:30, it's a 7:45 deal. And the disrespect for your time and also others is then clearly shown. And first of all, it's my pet peeve. Time to me is very important, because it speaks of respect for yourself, respect for the company, respect for the business, respect for people. We've got to get that right. So it's best to serve afterwards. For those who are interested, and they'll sit around. It's also a good social state because people can then comfortably connect. And when hot beverages served, you can't kind of gulp it up in one strip and then leave. It's a social thing. So then it's in the next couple of minutes that you can kind of get the information out, because we always say the meeting after the meeting is actually the most important. So that's where our Glyco Cafe and our Manna Tea comes in. The person presenting the opportunity should at least be excited. I mean, he or she must let the passion show in everything that is being done here. Otherwise, but not passion, just being passionate for no reason, being passionate for the company, passionate for the actual products, passionate about the upline. Find reasons to discuss why it's so exciting. People sitting there would look at you and say, look, it's not just about you. In my case, it would be Louis and Leonie. I've got to tell them how fantastic they are, building the biggest business in the world, and that sort of thing. Find a reason to edify them, so that the individual sitting there know that it's not just you posing to be the best of the best, but that you have a team behind you that can assist you, and obviously the Toms that obviously go with it. So let the new associate, for me, it's very important if I'm going to spend that time presenting to people brand new in my group, is to make sure that that the power of duplication will then immediately take effect. So I'll ask the brand new person while I'm presenting to familiarize themselves with the presentation, but they have to take notes so that they too see themselves doing what I'm doing, because that's actually what our business is all about. It's the power of duplication. And they learn monkey see, monkey do syndrome, then for them to get and be who they want to become. And the sooner they can get that done, the sooner you have another business moving and forging ahead. The good to great thing about it is when you have now done the presentation, you have, in my opinion, have given them explanation, you've given them information, and you have spoken about the game plan, then you can then get to the important part, because the people are then set and they're sitting in their chairs and they know what it's about, they know the company, they know what they're going to have to do next, and then the information is just general information out there, the stats, the insurance stats, the importance of why women would outlive men generally, the various aspects that will get people to think and to think right. 1, 2 is to be emotionally charged. You've got to get people emotionally charged, because only then will they make decisions based on the information that you're giving the company, to explain to them about how awesome this company is, the Manatech program, the compensation plan that's awesome, the leadership, and also the corporate guys who well assist us to create an incredible environment for a perfect storm of opportunity, which is our Manatech business. Once all that information is expelled, always encourage people to leave questions for afterwards, because it's very, very disruptive. Also creates a train of cracking thoughts if there are many questions, because then it derails the actual presentation. Good afterwards, you always refer, when people ask questions, to delicately deal with it in terms of how the execution of you saying to them, look, we can deal with that after the meeting. We'll deal with those questions. And basically what I found is, if you generally do a good job from the start to finish, then all those questions are completely absorbed, answers, because the answer exists through these presentations. And if some people want to jump the gun, proverbially speaking, and all of those things were well attended. And if there are questions afterwards, then it could be dealt with privately or generally. Okay, but encourage the questions to be dealt with afterwards. A very important thing for me that I've also found is that after you've done the presentation, you've done the launch of this incredible opportunity, you showcased our Manatech program in terms of the system, in terms of the products, and in terms of the business part. To easy access, we have an incredible system, the Toms and inevitably there'll be information like we call a first night back, and please speak to the person who invited or you've been invited to do this presentation. 1, 2, you make sure that you have information that you can put in a brand new associate's hand, even if they claim not to be interested. Why? Because it's not what we have said that will make them do it. It's what we might not have said. So first night packs, I always encourage people to go for presidential stories like as you leave. The presidential stories are very, very important because it taps into the emotion. And people are only going to be moved when they are emotionally moved, spiritually moved. In our business, we have these the stories because it taps into that part of or aspect of the individual, the human endeavor, to call for them to make decisions based on what they want. And the book that would do well with that, to get you on trade to that, is The Questions Are the Answers by Alan Pease. And basically how to get people to start nodding their heads in the yes mode, and you can get them to do that all night, and then you can finally you get them to change their own minds to get to what they actually want. So, and also when you leave people with a presidential story, it taps into information that we all generally are part of, though we so want to be different, we are so the same. So the idea there is to get people to get emotionally charged. We all want roof over our heads, food in our stomachs, and clothes on our backs. Everybody wants that, and everybody wants to be loved. So when you look at this, when you give them these CDs and are well presented by our presidential team through our Platinums, Louis and Leonie, to get that information to the brand new associate, and there are many of them, and that always get an incredible response because it gets them in the zone of their own excitement, gets them to get to their own needs, and get into those primary motivating factors that are 10 displayed in Questions Are the Answers by Alan Pease. And until they get to follow up, you to get to follow up with them, there's enough information through that program that will get them charged. By the time you get them, they are so ready to get going. And when you're at the follow-up, you can then go back and relay these 10 questions or primary motivating factors that are displayed in that book. Basically, what happens when the meeting's done, the whole idea of the meeting is to book another meeting. So every time there is a meeting concluded, the upline, who obviously has walked a little bit further, would then they get involved or ensconced with these individuals and participate in getting the next meeting, because that's the whole idea of a meeting, is to book another meeting. The speaker, who generally is more experienced, will assist with the questions and the setting up of the next meeting. And that's basically the program of what we're about. And it would platform you for this to be taught, and monkey see, monkey do mentality, then everybody gets the duplication process going, and this is the way we do business. So showing the plan, and this is what it encompasses. So I hope that it makes sense. Obviously would be to present them afterwards with like something to take home, like a take-home pack. For every single group, there's obviously their own DNA with the upline presidential leaders. They all have their own favorites, as one would call. So you listening to this would talk to your specific upline of sponsorship, because they have a DNA permeating through that group that's important to your upline status. Okay, so for me, what is very important for me is that there is an array of CDs, preferably how-to CDs, that are plentiful. But to me, the why aspect of our business is what will drive you, and it will make you stay. Because once you are emotionally or spiritually bound to your own dreams and goals, then you'll fight the number of instances where people would say no to you. You can face rejection. In fact, you can face anything if you know what you're forging toward, or moving toward, or fighting for. If you know exactly what it is, the rest is easy. I mean, we speak like that. We say, if you know why you're doing it, anyhow will do. Now, anyhow is the practical part, but without the why, the practical part doesn't exist. So what we do first night after presenting information, explanation, then game plan, is then to let them take home a presidential couple, And some people have favorites. It doesn't matter. They're all good, and they all have a story, and they all have it underwritten somewhere through the findings of what is being said throughout the presidential talk, is that it relates to the human existence, where we all go through the struggle to get to the victory, but we have to start. And those CDs are plentiful in Manitech. There are very many, and I think all the presidential stories are amazing. So it's anyone will do to get a brand new person as a take-home pack, so they can understand and relate to the very aspects, the very core aspects of, I think, all the individual spirit, is to say that we all want clothes on our back, roof in our, over our head, and food in our stomach. And we all want to be loved. Those are basics, and we all require it. And all the presidential stories have their tapestry woven into the messages clearly connected with these CDs, so that when you listen to it, it speaks to you as an individual. And I find it to be a good take-home back. It keeps them in the zone. It keeps them excited until the follow-up happens. And the follow-up is obviously the final journey that should be within 48 hours. So you actually set people up when you do the presentation, because you ask, like the questions and the answers, there are 10 different primary motivating factors in the book by Alan Pease. And those are the ones that you present. And it's inevitable that people in the room will pick one or many of them. And when you do the follow-up, that's not this topic tonight, then you can go back and press that. But you've got to make sure that you expel this information so that people can connect, so that when you talk to them again, you talk to them about what they want, not about what you want. And that makes it easier for you to go and do a follow-up. So the speaker generally would be more experienced than the brand new associate at the showing of the plan instance. And understanding that after all, there was during the presentation it was said that there'd be questions and then it would be dealt with afterwards. We generally would want to put to people that it's best when the question is asked to hand them a CD, because that information is better said by third-party validation. People would believe it more. So the showing of the plan is the most, for me, it is the first time people see you. It's when you are really showcase being a true ambassador to Manitech. It's setting up the business program, and also everything from there is a setup to have a next meeting, and a fruitful one if you've done the showing of the plan very well. So I hope this makes a lot of sense. Just that the information will take you all the way to the top.